Oh, cool here. Welcome, everybody. So, there's a lot of talk in the news about tariffs, and a lot of people are panicking. The world seems to be going to hell in a handbasket. So, I figured I would impart a little bit of sanity and a bit of factual information to what's going on with these tariffs. Now, the things I'm about to tell you are not uh, obscure and hidden somewhere. This is just a fact of the matter of what really goes on. So, what is a tariff? Well, a tariff is a kind of like a tax that our government puts on products that are coming into our country. And you'll probably hear there's two different sides of these stories, one on conservative media and one on liberal media, which are completely opposite of each other. So what are the facts when it comes to tariffs? First of all, and the very first thing, there are no tariffs in effect as of right now. They don't take effect until Wednesday. Today is Monday. That means Wednesday is 2 days from now. So all of this mass panic that's going on is ridiculous because nothing has actually happened yet. So what's going to happen between now and Wednesday? Well, so far, over 50 to 60 nations have already contacted us and said, can we negotiate a deal? Which is going to stop half of the tariffs from going into effect anyway. Okay. You have countries like Vietnam who said, well, we used to impose a 69% tariff on all your goods. We'll take it to zero if you take ours to zero. And whether Trump does that or not, it's up to him. So that's a good thing. And that was what was intended. Okay. But the purpose of a tariff is to protect what we make in this country so that we can keep it here at a same price. Now, listen, when you make something in another country like China or India or Pakistan or Vietnam or Japan or whatever, they don't have the same rules when it comes to making things as we do in this country. But what does that mean? It means that you can pay someone 50 cents a day to work. So how do we keep up? How do we fight that by making our goods and services more conducive to being purchased when we have minimum wages in this country like $16 an hour. So you can't produce something with a $16 an hour wage earner that is going to be competitive with someone who makes 50 cents a day. Now, you think I'm being a little facetious with the 50 cents a day. Let's just say it's $5 a day. Whatever it is, it's slave labor. Okay. So that's the first thing. So, those of you who hate Trump and say, well, these tariffs are going to do nothing but destroy the world's economy, are you okay with things that you purchase being made by slave labor? And if you think that it's not happening, just Google it. You'll see there's countries all over the place that make things with children. The kids are not allowed to have a say in when they take a break, or it's nothing like in the United States of America. So we have rules over here that govern conduct of a business. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that there's not sweatshops in somebody's basement that are producing things, but you're not going to get Nike sneakers produced in someone's basement in, Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's the kind of stuff that's not happening. So we have to impose tariffs on these goods coming into the country to make them more competitive. So then you say, oh, well, that's going to hurt the American purchaser, right? Well, is it really going to hurt the American purchaser? Let's take a look at how a tariff is applied. First of all, a tariff is applied on the goods at a wholesale level, not a retail level. So let's take a can of coffee, for instance. Let's say you buy your chock full of nuts coffee as an importer for $10 a can. And there's now going to be a 20% tariff on that can of coffee. So your $10 can of coffee is now going to cost $12 to import, right? $10 times 20%, $2. But your retail price for that can of coffee is $22. So where they don't have to pass this cost increase along. And a lot of manufacturers have said, or importers, whatever it is, said they're not going to pass this cost along. They're going to eat it. They'll eat a couple of bucks here and a couple of bucks there. Okay. So then you say, well, what about, the car industry? Well, how come we're not allowed to sell our cars in other countries? We're not allowed to sell our cars in Japan. We're not allowed to sell our cars in China, but we buy their cars all over the place over here. So we'll slap a tariff on, which will then raise the price of the foreign cars and make some of the American cars a little bit more cost effective to purchase. Now, listen, I understand. I'm a Ford guy. Ford may not be the most reliable brand, but neither is Dodge and Chevy. So I totally get it. But the cars that are produced here from other countries, the tariff is not going to apply to. So those people who drive Toyotas and those people who drive Hyundais and Nissans that are already produced in this country, you don't have to worry about that. It's the cost of that's not going to go up. Say, well, what about all the car parts? Well, the car parts again, go back to the coffee analogy. So you're importing outer tie rod ends, and the outer tie rod end you import for $2 a tie rod end. There's going to be a 50% tariff on it, so the tie rod end goes from $2 to $4. Okay, but you're selling it for $25. Okay, so you can see that without having an understanding of the way this works, people are panicking for no reason. Okay, no reason at all. Will there be some things where their prices are increased? Yes, there might be. But for the most part, what this is going to do is this is going to make people who have decided that they're going to produce their parts in another country or their goods in another country are going to decide to bring their goods back to our country and produce them over here. And that's the best way to do it. Why? Because if they produce them over here, it's now American jobs. People will be hired, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. And then, of course, the naysayers are out saying, well, they can't just do that. It's not going to happen tomorrow. That's true. It may not happen tomorrow, but it might happen in 2 months. We have so many shuttered factories that used to produce things in this country that it's not as big of a deal to get some of these things back open, up and running, and producing things over here in this country. Okay, so it also has to do with our national security. Okay, those of us that are older, we all start taking medication. We all notice that during the pandemic, the man-made one, that we started realizing there was a shortage of some of our medications. How come? Because they're all produced in another country. So, do you really want that? Do you want all of your medication to be produced in another country? What happens if we go to war with that country? What if that country decides they don't like us? What if they get a new leader? Or what if our leader ticks them off and now all of a sudden we can't get our medications because they're not produced over here? Listen, fellow Americans, our stuff that's in our country should be produced over here in our country. Okay. And there are a lot of businesses that want to bring their businesses back. And why do they want to do that? They want to do that because the financial reasons for them to move over to another country are going to no longer exist. The burdensome regulations that have been put into the businesses that are run over here in the United States are going to be going away at a phenomenal rate. And once those restrictions are gone, it will be economically viable to produce those things. So the last thing I'd like to say is this: in all of the countries that are on that list, there's something that everybody misses. We are the consumer, the largest consumer of world goods. Okay. Largest by far. We consume more goods in this country than anybody, which means everybody wants to sell to us. Okay. Think about that. If everybody wants to sell to us and we decide we're going to slap a tariff on you so that our people don't buy from you, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt us. How come? Because there's no other market as big as the United States. Okay. So, why do you think that over 50 nations have come back and said, please, let's negotiate a deal? We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to get blocked out of the American market. We want to make some kind of deal. And what is our current president going to do? Like him or hate him, he's going to make it more fair for the American people. And that's what I want. I want it to be more fair for us. Okay. Because right now it's not fair for us. And I want to see jobs come back to this country. So all those people that want to work can work. I want to see part-time jobs. I want to see full-time jobs. I want to see all of the people that are able to work and that want to be able to get a job to their liking. And once the factories start opening up and businesses start moving over to this country, things like that are going to happen. Now, what else is that going to do for our economy? Well, it's going to create a higher tax base, which means the government's going to take more revenue from the American public, which is now working, which is then going to help toward our national debt. And The billions of dollars that are going to be brought in through the tariffs are going to help with our national debt. We happen to have, for the first time in my lifetime, an administration who is hell bent on seeing to it that we get spending under control. We don't have a revenue problem in this country, we have a spending problem. We need to make sure that in our country, we spend less than we bring in. And if we do that, we can then pay off our debt. And our debt's 36 trillion. By the way, that's 36 with 12 zeros after it. And if anybody wants to see how fast that debt is rising, they can just type in debt clock, right, into any search engine, and you'll bring up the debt clock, which will then say how much our debt is. All right. So there's a lot of good positive things. Another one that's going to happen is when these factories get ready to start opening, all the people that are in construction are now going to have work. All of the people that are in the service sector, right? We keep talking about the service sector. That's the one thing that can't be exported overseas because you can't get your furnace repair guy from over in Guam. He has to be in the United States and in the area that you live in. So when these factories all start coming online, there's going to be people that have to come in, electricians and plumbers and carpenters and steel workers and every other type of worker under the sun to come in and build, upgrade, and maintain all of these facilities. Okay. Not to mention, we need the people to work in these facilities as well. So, with all that said, I don't find any reason for panic. Okay. The last thing I'm going to say about this is I'm watching the stock market and I'm laughing. For those who invest, remember this number one rule of investing: you can only lose money when you sell something. Okay. And if you go back to the trends for the last 50 years, okay, go back 50 years. So let's see, 50 years ago would have been 1985. Yeah, 1985, 95, 2000. Yeah. So if you go all the way back to 1985, every downturn the stock market has been followed by an increase bigger than the downturn. And how long did it take? Sometimes a year, sometimes a little less than a year, but not usually more than that. And some of the downturns recovered very, very quickly. So those of you who have money in your stocks and in your retirement accounts, and you think, oh my gosh, I just lost money. I hate Donald Trump over it. Sit back, relax, stop getting your panties in a tussle. This stuff is all going to come back, and it's going to come back pretty quickly. I bet you by the end of April, we won't even realize that there was a downturn. So all of you people who got yourselves all worked up, took 5 years off your life because of stress, are going to realize that it was all for naught, because when the stock market drops, it always comes back. And this is especially true for those that are invested in the tech stocks. Listen, Tesla's not going anywhere. You got stocks in Tesla, it'll come back. Trust me. And you have stocks in Nvidia, it's going to come back. Trust me, it's not going anywhere. You got stocks in Apple, it's coming back. Listen, even if you have stocks in the automakers, they're going to come back. The only companies that don't come back are companies that were poorly run or not managed at all, which will then just go out of business. Now, if you're invested in any of those, you should have done your homework before you got invested in them. So, anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of hope out there. Pass this word along. Let everybody look at the video. The world is not coming to an end. It's not the end of the whole economic system. Donald Trump's not trying to take over the world. Everything is going to continue as it always has. All right. With that said, if you like this content, hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and share this video. And also, you can comment anytime you want. The comments have been turned on and left on. So until the next time when the world is in a panic, we'll see you then.